So you noted that your phone stopped ringing for a while. Is that, like, walk people through this for a second? Is it that there's just such a stranglehold at the top in terms of the executives? Is it the entire culture? Because I was out in LA for a while when I was on Dancing with the Stars for like 4 or 5 months. And it was funny how many times somebody would pull me aside, never at the executive level, but sometimes hair and makeup, or, the crew that was working, or a producer, and say, hey, just so you know, I'm a supporter, I'm a friend.
Yes, that happened to me all the time. People would call me aside and speak in a whisper, and they would say, I saw you on Sean Hannity, and I really agree. And I would say, why are you whispering? We're in the right. We're the good
There's
guys.
no one else here.
There's no one else here. But in fact, it meant that they would lose their job. And Gary Sinise, God bless him, one of the few open Republicans out there, started a secret society called, Friends of Abe, we were called, right, because in the old days, gay people were called Friends of Dorothy, like in The Wizard of Oz. So we called ourselves Friends of Abe because we had to be as low profile as that. And I said to Gary, we can't go in secret because we won't get anything done. And he said, it's all right for you to say that. It's all right for me to say it, but it's not all right for the gaffer, for the lighting guy, for the voiceover guy. And so we had to live in secret. It was really like being in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting where you'd stand up and say, my name is Andrew, I'm a Republican. And people would go like, hi, hi, Andrew, that kind of thing. So it was really, it's not so much that there's a list that goes around and people say to you, you'll never work again. I can't prove that I was blacklisted. I can only prove that I went from making a very, very good living to making nothing overnight. And
that quick.
I mean, I had to sell my house. It was like absolute. It was an absolute shock to the system. Although I knew it was coming. I knew that what I was doing. I was very consciously saying, with our guys getting shot at, I can't just keep my mouth shut.
Right.
You have to do something. And the thing is, I don't think there's a list that goes around. What I think is, it's so hard to make a living as a screenwriter that you are going through maybe 12, 15 hoops just to get hired. Somewhere along that line, you are going to meet that person who turns you off. And somewhere along the line, the phone just stops ringing. And I think that that's the way it works. I can't prove it, but it was so sudden and so complete, and it remains complete to this day. I mean, my agent, one of my agents who was a stone leftist, would say, no, nobody, all they care about is money. I would say if they cared about money, they wouldn't be making these movies about how bad we are. They keep bombing, because it was.
Well, that's the thing that I continue to be amazed by how many times Hollywood gets it wrong, but there's no consequences, because as long as they're promoting the left, it's okay. And they give each other passes, because as long as they're promoting those values, it's okay, right? And that's the thing that I find so fascinating about an industry that spends so much money.
Yep, it's amazing. Here's the hilarious thing. All these movies, Lions for Lamb, Redaction, all these films came out about how evil we were and how the Republicans had drawn us into this evil war, and why were we killing these poor Muslim people, these lovely Muslim people. All picture after picture after picture, each one of them bombed. And so I remember reading in Variety, which is the trade paper of Hollywood, I remember reading an article, people don't want to see movies about the wars on terror. I laughed. I said, yeah, they don't want to see movies where we're the bad guys, because we're not, So that went on and on and on. And after a while, and the one film I think was on HBO, I'm trying to remember what it was about, what it was called, but it was about a Marine driving home the body of a fallen soldier, which was not anti-war or pro-war. It was just in tribute to the Marines who had died in their service. That was attacked universally as being jingoistic. Then Clint Eastwood made the film American Sniper, the largest grossing R-rated film, I think, in history at that time. And Variety wrote another piece. We're confused. We thought people didn't want to see films about the war on terror. Well, yeah, they wanted to see the truth, which was that Americans were heroes and we were the good guys and we were fighting on the right side. And so they turned out en masse for that film, which was a great film. Didn't win the Oscar, of course, because of what it said. But still, it was one of the best films in 20 years. So they're so locked into that culture, and they cannot believe, A, that it's not the American culture, and B, that we don't care what they think. So, the Oscars went from being one of the entertainment events of the year to being something that three people watch, maybe if they happen to be drunk and they can't find the remote, they watch the Oscars because it's all
Right.
these actors shouting at us, these people who can't even keep their marriages together, telling us who we should vote for, and it's obscene, but they don't get it. They do not get it.
Right.
And I think it's now they have this idea that the reason they don't get it is because we're all idiots. Those people out in the hinterlands, flyover country, they're all fools. So that's what they tell themselves. But really, it's that they're a bunch of messed up people who live for love. They live for fame, and they have no idea about anything about politics. And all they want to do is tell us that the climate is killing us, and they want to feel important, I guess.
Right.
And that's what they do. But it's a very messed up culture, and it's really
True.
unfortunate because it has such a powerful effect on the mind of America.
So you mentioned Gary Sinise in this group, Friends of Abe, that he had and that you were part of. Would people be surprised by who's a member of this group, either back then or now? That, in other words, are there actors and people that we hear about that we'd say, wow, we never knew that person was a conservative or a Republican?
Probably not. The very few, the top stars who were there were all people who I don't think anybody would say I never would have guessed. There was nobody like that. The people who were there in secret were the writers and the voiceover guys and the people who kind of hold Hollywood together but don't get a lot of attention. And they would tell their stories. We would sit around and tell our stories. And I have to tell you, Sean, the stories of the black guys and girls who showed up were the worst of all. They were, whenever anybody found out that an African-American person was a conservative, they were treated like garbage. It was absolutely, I mean, you would listen with tears in your eyes. You really would, because they would just be treated like dirt. And it really revealed a lot about the nature of the left and the fact that nothing they say means anything except leftism. Feminism is not feminism. It's just leftism. Gay rights are not gay rights, just leftism. Racial rights aren't racial rights. It's all about the leftism. It's all about collecting power in a central place so they and their genius can turn the world into utopia. just a 1 second after they turn it into a hellhole.
It doesn't sound like much has changed, because, I mean, you find these same people who side with Republicans now who don't fit into the mold because they're a minority or they have some reason that's supposed to make them a leftist. And if they don't agree with that, a successful woman, and they go, oh, well, I can't believe you're betraying the thing. For you, when did you and how did you make that conversion from being author, Hollywood type to, commentator?
Well, it was pretty funny. Roger Simon, who was also a mystery writer, a very fine mystery writer, helped start a place called PJTV, which was kind of the Daily Wire before there was the Daily Wire. It was the first time they experimented with video commentary and all this. And I'd always bump into Roger because he'd been a screenwriter too. And I'd bump into him in Hollywood bars and he would say, come and do work for PJTV. And I would say, I'm a writer. The last thing I want is to be on camera. I live in my room. I make up stories. I go home. Nobody knows who I am. I love it that way. And he kept bothering me. He said, at least watch what's on. So I watched it, and there was a very fine commentator named Bill Whittle who had.
Oh, I love Bill Whittle.
Everybody loves Bill Whittle. And he had network quality talent, but he was very serious. And he would look in the camera and he would deliver the facts and very hard line. Yep. So I called up Roger and I said, if I can do Bill Whittle as Monty Python, I would do it. And Roger, who was just experimenting, said, sure, go ahead. And so I started writing these funny commentaries to kind of go with Bill Whittle's. And Bill, I'll never forget the first one I did. I was in a studio and I did the thing, and the door came crashing open like a SWAT team was coming in, and it was Bill Whittle, and he put his nose like this close to my face, and he started cursing me out, and he said, now we're all going to have to do that.
Wait, so was he upset or was he laughing?
He was laughing upset. Okay. He was kidding around because he thought this is something different, it's something new, and it's cool, and we all have to put some of this humor into the content, right. And we did, and it really worked out well. And suddenly I was getting like 1 million hits on a video, and I was stunned, and I kind of, that one was trapped. I couldn't get out of it. And so that led ultimately to the Daily Wire, which has been one of the great experiences of my life.
Yeah.